Davante Adams has been cut by the Jets. There was no guaranteed money left on his deal, so this was a formality of sorts. If they couldn't find a trade partner and they weren't able to, he had $30 million in cap space that they were either going to pay him or free up, and they did that. And so the question now is, would you have any interest in the 32-year-old wide receiver if you were the Commanders? Danny, I'm going to say no to Davante Adams, and my take here is pretty simple. I don't want to be in the business of continually adding veterans toward the end of their career in hopes of getting one or two decent years. I think you want to try to find a way to pair your additions of veterans who are going to help you in the short term with some foundational building blocks long term. So at wide receiver, you've got McLaurin right now with Deebo Samuel and Luke McCaffrey, who will be going into year 2. It's time to go find some younger and maybe cheaper talent on the outside that is ascending. Players that you project to be better than they are at this moment. I also wouldn't mind a draft pick at that position with some size on the outside as a wide receiver too. But I want youth. I want speed. I'm not that interested in Adams, who after 80-plus catches and 1,000 more yards and 12.5 yards per catch last year is still going to do really well financially. I'd imagine he's going to be making $25+ million a year.
Yeah, so Spot Track has his value at around $14 million per year, and we're going way north of that. In other words, teams are going to say that's Davante Adams, that's Gold Jacket, that's a star that can really help my quarterback, etc. So it's going to be too rich for my blood. I'm interested. We should be interested in players like this. Now, to me, though, the price is going to exceed probably where my market would be. I'm interested now because my philosophy about this team and organization and where everything is, and I think to a degree, Peters and company have recognized this. They are so devoid of talent that they inherited that you kind of have to do this. You have to do some of these 1 year. You have to do these mercenaries who need something from you. You got to do the Deebo Samuels. You got to do a 1 year of Bobby Wagner, a 1 year of Zach Ertz, a 1 year of or a short term of Eckler and of Cleveland Farrells and the Dante Fowlers of the world. In order to get something, that you kind of have to compromise your normal values. Normally, I'm all in on building slow and using the draft. Happens to be a weak receiver class in the draft. Now, that doesn't mean you can't find someone that can help you, and maybe round 2 or 3, a speed demon, kind of like you're talking about, to help take the top off. But I'm interested in Adams, but I bet it will get too rich for my blood.
All right, so level of interest 1 to 10. And I always think, like, on the cheap, of course, everyone's interested.
Right, I'm not talking about
what it's going to cost for him. So if you're saying Spot Track citing him at $14 million, then it probably won't get to where I think it's going to.
Well, I think it will. I think it's going to be in the 20s.
I would imagine so. But let's just say he signs a deal, and I would take the over on this, but for $20 million a year, which feels like a bit of a bargain for the next couple of years. But if you're signing a 4-year deal or something, now he's into his age 35, 36 season with a little guaranteed money, that's problematic. But level of interest on something like that, 1 to 10.
5.
Okay, so I'm like a 2. What if they hadn't just traded for Deebo Samuel? What would your interest be?
11.
Yeah, I would probably be a 7, I think. I don't need to go get both. You chose the weapon. You can move around in the versatile guy. Now let's pair Deebo with a fit. Whether of the Jets receivers that are on their way out, honestly, like an Alan Lazard, who's going to come a lot cheaper, would actually be more appealing to me. Who is not as young as I'd like him to be. I wish he was 27, but he's 29 years old. He's a big dude. He went for 530 yards on 37 catches and caught 6 touchdowns last year. I think someone like that, because it's cheaper, just to add to the receiver room, would make a little more sense to me at this point. If they were to become players for Adams, which I'm not anticipating, it would be very telling, though, because now I kind of feel like I know where they're headed here, which is, let's surround our young quarterback for the next 2 or 3 years with good football players and try to win right here, right now. And they're kind of kicking the future down the road a little bit, which I don't think they're going to do. I don't think that's Adam Peters' MO. I think he's going to try to multitask, which is what I like.
Yeah, I think it's a multitask situation as well. But kind of to your point, and this is sort of adding to what I was saying previously, I just think they're recognizing where they are, which is we would love to do nothing but draft very judiciously and build and have Luke McCaffrey get more reps, and then Ben Sinnott grows into his role, etc. Sorry, Daniels is too good. you got magic there, and you've got 4 years now to do it at a bargain basement price before he's going to earn 70 mil per year, maybe more, when it's his turn to sign that extension. So I'd love to do it slow, but you don't have time to be slow. You're good now. You've got the magic thing. Let's go surround him. I think there's going to be more of that than maybe people are anticipating. And I think they had to do that in year one, just to try to help establish the culture and to turn things. Now that you would say, okay, it's established, you can't recreate that magic exactly, but I think it's going to be closer to that than maybe people think, just because there's 40 open spots on the roster, give or take.
We're a little over a week away from the start of the league year in the NFL, and we're bouncing back and forth between the two huge stories of the day. One of which is Davante Adams being cut by the Jets. The other is Saquon Barkley being extended by the Eagles with 2 years left on his deal. He gets 2 years at $20 million, and I'm still waiting, like you, for the specifics on if you're tearing up part of that contract or if now he's just under contract for 4 years, which would be a little bit surprising. I actually think that this deal, if you're a Commanders fan, is a good thing because he just got a gigantic raise. They're paying a running back an unbelievable amount of money that nobody's ever paid a running back. And Barkley, remember, up until last year, really struggled to stay healthy.
Yep.
Like, that was the rarity. That was the exception, not the rule for him. Generally, this is not a guy that goes and posts 16, 17 games in a season. So I think when you start giving him a real big raise, you're getting into some tedious waters possibly. My only concern is we've seen the Eagles cut Darius Slay. We have seen the Eagles cut James Bradbury, and we are now seeing them rework the contract of Saquon, possibly freeing up money. There was a report a week ago that they had no problem releasing veterans and creating space to try to trade for Myles Garrett to make a big swing. That's the only thing that makes me a little bit nervous as they're making a bunch of moves here in the last 72 hours. What is all the space for?
Oh, yeah.
And I am worried that they're going to make a push for Myles Garrett and get in front of Washington in line there, which if I'm Adam Peters, I can't allow them to do.
They're getting in front of Detroit, getting in front of Washington, getting in front of anybody else, because that's a world record. That's your easy button on defense for a defense that was already excellent.
Let's go to Jimmy in Fredericksburg on Grant and Danny. Hey, Jimmy, how are you?
Hey, Grant. Hey, Danny. I'm worried about the team. I think they really need to make a push for Myles Garrett right now. This is very concerning with Saquon Barkley.
What bothers you about Barkley? I mean, just that he's staying in Philly longer?
He's in Philly longer. He's strong. He's hard to beat. He's the key on that team. If they can't stop Saquon, then Jalen Hurts gets to do his thing. You know, he's not that good. If they can stop Saquon, they can easily stop Jalen Hurts. He's not good. He's not a good quarterback. He's mid.
Well, I tend to be in the minority and kind of agreeing that he's more average than he is elite, but he's now played in 2 Super Bowls. He's won one of them, and he's been excellent in those 2 games. I mean, that's the best thing he's got going for his legacy. He outplayed Mahomes the first time and should have probably won that Super Bowl. And then he was stupendous, I thought, last month in the Super Bowl. But this was Barkley's roster. It was Barkley's team. They were there because of his 2,005 yards, because of his 345 carries. But I actually take a different tact, I think, than the caller there. As a Commanders fan, I'm not bummed out by this extension. I would ask this. Are they going to be paying more money to Saquon Barkley? Have they committed deeper into the 28-year-old's age gap? So he's at the age right now where running backs start to slow down typically. And they just tacked on 2 and 40. I'll take this today. I got no problem.
That's right.
I am worried about the side effect, which we'll see how the contracts work out. But if there's more space now for them to go get Garrett, well, that's a bummer. That stinks. But if teams in my division want to start paying running backs $20 million a year at 28 years old, I know he's a special case, I will not stand in their way.
Totally. And when, Zeke Elliott was on top of the world and everyone's like, oh, they're locking him up, I said, that's excellent. Please do that because he'll fall off a cliff. Now, Barkley may be different. I mean, again, the injury-plagued player that New York didn't want to pay, I don't know if he's still in there anymore. Who knows if he changed training regimens or fixed something, and now that he's getting, close to 400 touches, maybe he'll do this for the next couple of years and be one of those freaks that defies the aging curve. The Derrick Henrys of the world, the Adrian Petersons of the world. Those happen every once in a while too, but by and large, it usually looks like Elliott does, where you're on top of the universe, you're first, you're first, second, third overall in every fantasy draft, and then the cliff happens and we go full Acme style. So yeah, I'm with you. More money spent on their current players is good for me. Does that make sense? Like if you've got to give a bunch of guys a raise, that means you're not shopping as much. And I'm worried that they're going big game hunting and they're going to try to make a Garrett move or something else we're not anticipating.
I'm not sure that I answered the question. You said you were a 5 out of 10 interested in going and getting Davante Adams.
Yeah.
I'm probably a 1. I also think you saw, if you watch the Netflix wide receiver special like I did, the documentary series that they put together, he was a complete malcontent and diva when he wasn't getting the football. To the point where he essentially said, like, for me, the fun in the NFL is being involved in catching passes, more so than anything else. That's what he wants to be doing. I've got McLaurin as a 1. I've got Deebo Samuel, who I need to get the football to. There's other weapons in this offense, including whatever my running game is, which is going to still be the predominant way forward. You've got a quarterback who runs more than any other quarterback in the league other than Lamar Jackson. There's just not that many footballs to go around. I don't want to have to try to keep Davante Adams happy. I don't want to have to make sure, how's Davante feeling today? Are we getting him enough targets as he is involved? No. I'm not playing that game. So if Deebo wasn't here, sure, let's talk. Because he is now, no thank you. I am out.